Titled Faith in Action, Collaboration Against Trafficking. And to moderate this panel discussion is my co-MC, Ms. Kunda Mando. Let's give her a hand as she comes on and as she invites her panelists. A big round of applause for her.
Thank you very much. I now have the privilege of calling on my panelists. I had a chat with them just a few minutes ago, and I was just blown away by what is happening, and also really amazed at the fact that there's so much human trafficking going around, and sometimes right in our faces. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome my first panelist, and this happens to be Mr. Kevin Hyland, former UK Independent Anti-Slavery Commissioner. Let's make him feel welcome. A big hand. Next in line, I have the honor of introducing to you Miss Pauline Juma, and she is Executive Director, Rebirth of a Queen, coming all the way from Kenya. A big hand. I was memorizing the Kenyan greeting, and it's gone. I don't know. Oh, habari. Yes, can everybody say habari? Ladies and gentlemen, on our panel, we have the honor of hosting Miss Pauline, I've talked about Miss Pauline, Sister Rosemary Nyirumbe, and she is Director St. Monica's Girls Tailoring Center, all the way from Uganda. Oh my goodness. I think by the end of our panel discussion, I will know how to greet in Ugandan, one of the Ugandan languages. Ladies and gentlemen, the last but not the least, I do have the honor of calling Sister Kayula Lesa, and she is Talitha Kum Zambia representative. I think here in Zambia, it's more of Takuza. Ladies, gentlemen, you have microphones just by your side. Ladies and gentlemen, our cardinals, our church leaders, thank you very much for taking this opportunity to listen to this very short discussion, but very provocative, and I believe that it will really cause all of us to think in a more positive and more embracing attitude as we listen to this discussion. And I'll start by, first of all, appreciating your presence and your time and also your wisdom as you speak. And I'll start by just finding out the simple aspect of human trafficking. Pauline, I'll throw it to you. What is human trafficking?
Thank you so much. I come from a country where even the law makers will tell you human trafficking is a Mexican thing. So this is what I tell them, that it's as simple as taking someone from one place to another. It's a form of modern day slavery where people are being coerced, forced, either for labor, sexual exploitation, and it's one of the severe violations against a human being.
Is it as critical as you're making it sound? I mean, I was listening to the Cardinal, I listened to Sister's presentation. Is it as serious as we are making it out to be?
Again, coming from a country where all human trafficking cases, we report them as sexual abuse or sexual violence cases. I'll give you an example of a case, just like an example of a case we handle. A girl has been moved from Uganda to Kenya for labor exploitation. Her passport or her documentation has been taken away by the so-called person who trafficked them. And while in Kenya, they've been sexually abused. And most of the time it's severe. So many times we actually do reconstruction surgery for these women or even for young men that we rescue from human trafficking.
Kevin, you're just coming from the G20. Tell me, is this happening just in the SADC region or just in East Africa? How bad is the situation?
Well, the problem is this is happening across the world, and there are 50 million victims. It generates...
I'm sorry, 50 million?
50 million. And over 25% of those are children. And one of the facts that's often missing is that, and this is what's known, 22,000 children die every year in exploitative labour conditions. 22,000. That is on a scale that we can't even begin to imagine. And it's attracting 236 billion every year to criminals. And that's not including the organ trafficking, which is a big problem in countries like Mozambique and in parts of North Africa, but also in Latin America. And also then we have different forms of trafficking that are developing, which are well now established, where children and young people are used to commit crimes, to do drug trafficking and things like that. But globally, and this is the whole world, a crime that attracts 236 billion, and the commodity is women, children and men, there is less than 1 billion invested by G20 countries. So what I was bringing to the G20 this year, with the help of Hilton Foundation and with Talitha Kum, who we're starting to do research on, was the fact that the church and religious systems are doing more than the rest of the world. And we need to show the world that everybody, every country is saying, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that. But when you start stripping it down, one country that said it was putting millions into fighting trafficking, we established was actually investing tens of thousands. And we need some honesty about this. And the situation is getting worse. The profits to the criminals are getting more. More people are being trafficked. Last year there was a reduction of 30,000 globally. 30,000 traffic victims less than the year before. The chances of being identified are 0.2% of all the victims there, and the chances of being caught are next to none. And I think the work that the sisters do, and the work we're doing particularly with the Hilton Foundation, is we need to wake up the others, and also to demonstrate what the church is doing, and in particular religious sisters on the front line, because if we put that together, that would actually show that it's the church and religious sisters who is doing more than the rest of the world put together, all the governments put together.
I was expecting you to give a round of applause at that point. The sisters are doing much more than all these entities put together. And Kevin, you mentioned a number of disturbing things. 50 million. In Zambia, we are 20 million. So what you're saying is double plus 10 million. This number in Zambia are actually getting human trafficked. And then the part for the organ trafficking, I actually thought that was in the movies. It's like it's not real, it's not happening, and that is actually on the ground.
It's the religious sisters here from Mozambique who will tell you how they face that on a daily basis, and nobody is helping them. And in fact, one of the areas that the assessment globally, in the US assessment through the Trafficking in Persons report, it doesn't recognise trafficking of organs. So it's not reported on, so it's not an international issue. So it's a thing that happens without people knowing. And when you have your organs taken in that sense, there's absolutely no doubt you're going to die at some point early, if not immediately, and the recipient's going to die early, if not immediately. So it's just a no-win situation. And I think one of the things that we do need to look at is, and I brought this up in the G20 and other meetings I go to, is that we talk about, supply chains being difficult to trace. I was in South Africa only yesterday, and I said within 100 miles of where I am, there will be gold being mined, there will be coltan, cobalt, and that will be supplied for things that we need in the West. But they'll be able to dig that up, check the quality of it, take it somewhere else in the world to be refined, then take it somewhere else where it's processed, then take it somewhere to become a semiconductor, then take it to the United States or to Europe to be put into a computer, then take it to Taiwan to then be produced and marketed, and then distributed around the world. We can do all that, and that happens every day, and it's making billions and trillions of dollars. But we can't check the quality of the work. We can't check to see if there's a child in the mine. Simply put, we can. but we have to have the investment by governments. Government procurement needs to be held to account. And we need to listen to the people on the ground, like the religious sisters, who can tell us where that's happening. And then we need to hold big business to account, governments to account, and really start to drive this down.
Let me skip, around it. Let me skip Sister Rosemary and just go to Sister Kayula. Sister Rosemary, I've got a question for you, but I'm leaving you for the last. Sister Kayula, I'm intrigued. What's the question I should ask? Why is it that sisters are involved? Because when I think about human trafficking, I'm thinking about law enforcement entities. Why is the sisterhood? Why are sisters doing this? Where is this coming from?
Thank you very much, Konda. As you know, our life is not just about past living, it's actually about the faith that has justice. So one of the things that we learn from the church social teaching, which inspires us, is what the church teaches about the human person, that the human is separate, they have dignity. So human trafficking does compromise, that dignity. And as sisters, indeed any Catholic or any Christian, we cannot listen to stories of those 50 million people and look away. We know that human trafficking is happening, so we must restore that dignity. So that is our inspiration as sisters, but also, as all of the Catholic Church. So we are called, we are mandated. Jesus Christ says in John 10:10, I came that they may have life and have it to the full. And that which is compromised, we must restore.
Wow. And if we talk about Sister Kayula, if we talk about how sisters are making this intervention, we've heard from Kevin saying sisters are doing much more than all these law enforcement in all these countries. How are you doing it from the inside? Because what we've known for sisters is we find you praying, we find you inside. How are you still making impact outside?
Perhaps let me just give an example of Carita from Zambia. As Carita from Zambia, we've been raising awareness to the public. We target 100,000 people per year, the people that we talk to, apart from just doing social media. I think if you go to our website, you will find a lot of messages because we want to educate the
Sisters
public.
are on social media.
Exactly, yes. We do a lot of activism on social media because we know that when people have information, that acts as a protection too. Aside from that, we work very closely here with our government, particularly the anti-human trafficking department. We train law enforcement officers. We also, just train different groups of people in the church and, without. But also, we do accompany victims of human trafficking survivors. And after accompanying them, we actually, offer some empowerment so that whatever would have made them be vulnerable to human trafficking is addressed. For example, poverty is such a factor. And, we know that, for example, here in Zambia, I think the majority of Zambians are living in poverty, and that creates vulnerability.
We'll talk more about how gullible we are, sometimes even naive, because sometimes we find that it's actually the middle class that are affected. And we'll talk about that as we end the program and end the interview. But Sister Rosemary, I'd like to find out this tailoring center that you established, that you are impacting Uganda positively. Tell us about this and who your target is.
I'm Sister Rosemary, as she has already explained. I work in a tailoring center, which is a place where we give vocational skills training to vulnerable women. And our really target population are those women who are trafficked by the Lord's Resistance Army and taken to captivity, stayed for many years. When you hear about the Lord's Resistance Army from me now, you will think it is something of the past. It has stopped. But I can prove to you that up to last year, up to this year, we managed to rescue women who have been with the Lord's Resistance Army for more than 15 years with their children. And I must be very, very grateful to Hilton Foundation for giving us the support to extend more care for these survivors. And we are not only giving to these women, we are giving it to their children as well. And we have gone as far as also bringing children from the street to our vocational skills training center, because we find them more vulnerable on the street. And of course, when we talk about human trafficking, we look at it something very far away from us. It is something very close to us, and I have seen it very close to us. Sometimes these children are pushed on the street by their own parents or relatives. And the traffickers who are really preying on these kids sometimes are very important people. I give you one story. I rescued a girl in Kampala. I am in Gulu, but I was in Kampala. I looked at a woman who was well dressed, very important, holding a conversation with a young woman who resembles a person from my tribe. And I said, that girl doesn't know the language of that woman, but she is not educated, but could speak English very well. And I could see an equal conversation. And I told the sister who was moving with me, I said, you go, I don't want to be recognized. Ask that girl if she's from this village. And when she asked, the girl said, yes, I am from that village. Immediately we switched and started speaking in our language. The woman who was trafficking her didn't know the language. And I told her, I said, we are going to the lift, follow us immediately. The girl followed us. We managed to take her away from this very rich woman in Kampala. The woman was furious, was calling her on the phone. She gave the phone to me. And she said, I gave money to this girl. I gave money. I said, listen to me, I'm ready to refund your money. Do you want me to send your money back? Send me your mobile number. She did not. So I want you to understand, all of us to understand that human trafficking is very close to us. It is very important for us to be able to identify and find the long-term solution. The long-term solution is not just about giving temporary shelter or bringing them somewhere, but this skills training, like this vocational skills training, which we are learning. Thank you.
Cardinal on the, Cardinal Grisman mentioned something in his speech, that we should do more than just talk, we should act, and I can see that action taking place. Another big hand for Sister Rosemary. So now tell me, if the situation is that bad, if things are so bad, why aren't we talking about it? There's so many things that we talk about. We talk about politics, we talk about HIV, we talk about so many other things that are affecting us as Africans, us as people in the world. Why aren't we talking about this? And yet it's something that is hitting us hard. Kevin, Pauline, I'd like you to go for it.
Yeah, well, one of the things is many vested interests, because a lot of the connections in trafficking is to big business or powerful people. So there's a vested interest in it. So it's not in their interest to end trafficking. There's businesses making a lot of money mining, with children in mines. There are diplomats who have women that they bring from one part of the world and they're powerful, and sometimes they've got impunity. So it's connected with so many things that are governmental or have become norms as well within trade. But I just wanted to talk about something about, when we come together, and I was a police officer in the UK for 30 years, and when we ran the Olympics, we worked with Religious Sisters in 2012, and that was a massive success. We had operations where sisters would come out with us on operations in the morning, and what it was they could give a different care. We knew how to investigate, we knew how to break down doors, we knew how to search, we knew how to find forensics, we knew how to put people before the courts. The sisters knew how to show love. And that love, but what that love refined into was actually, I'll give you one case. Sisters from India and Africa came on a radio in London. And when we went in, there was a young woman there, or purported to be a young woman, was spitting and shouting at the police. But because the officers were trained, they realised she might be traumatised. We took her out and placed her in the car with the sisters. They went back to the sister's house. And of course, this is, she's being shown love for the first time. By 12 o'clock that day, she told us her whole story. She was 15, she'd been raped. She was trafficked from Eastern Europe. And by the afternoon, the close of the day, I had all the traffickers in custody. That worked. And we took all the money, we found other victims. Once we trust and we believe in our faith, and it's not about our faith, it's about our goodwill, it's amazing what can happen. And just one other case I'll tell you, a case that I was dealing with, I needed to find a victim, not a traffic victim, a witness in Nigeria. The process to do that through the official channels to Nigeria might take a year. I phoned a religious sister. 6 hours later, I had the witness. That's what we can do. And so when we come together and we trust and we change the way we do things, actually, the one person that's going to benefit is the victims, and we're going to reduce the victims because we're going to catch the traffickers. And they won't benefit, but they will benefit in the long term because they will face justice.
Pauline, I need your input.
One thing that I would say, as of 2025, the sisters community are doing their best. That is what I would say. They are doing their best. Back in Kenya, and this work has been supported so much by the Talitha Kum International. 6 years ago, I founded an organization, and it's a survivor-centered organization. And until 2023, our voices were not anywhere as survivors. We'll talk about advocacy, but again, if advocacy is not survivor-centered, if it's not trauma-informed, then to reach to the victims or to reach to survivors is a very difficult thing. So one thing I will say, we are doing something about it. A sister has said that we need to do more than just running shelters. For 4 years we run a shelter as an organization, Rebirth of a Queen, and survivors kept coming in, survivors kept going out, but one thing remained constant: the cycle of abuse kept going, because number one, we didn't give them skills. Until 2 years ago when we launched the Skills Training Center, and the Skills Training Center is now empowering girls and young women and vulnerable young people in the communities to access skills. And once they access skills, one of the things that we are doing is to advocate for dignified job opportunities. Because it's one thing to give someone a job, it's another thing to give them a dignified job opportunity. And with Talitha Kum, they're walking in dignity. So this is what we do in Kenya. Every Friday, we hold a 10 kilometers walk. And we do the simple thing, wearing a t-shirt, walking in dignity. We live in a very patriarchal community, in a society where a woman should be there and should be seen. But whenever we do the walks and we are asked questions, that is how we create community, that is how we create awareness, that is why we spark a conversation, and that is how we bring people together to understand that human trafficking is real, and it is happening, and it's one of the worst violations you can wish to any human being. Yeah.
We're quickly coming to the end of the interview, but I would like to find out, Sister Rosemary, do you think that what you're offering is better than what they are getting? Because I've heard stories of young people, bound by such vices, but then when they try to live a new life, a good life, a positive life, they're getting so much less money than they would. So are we giving them what they actually need? Is it equivalent to what they were getting? And is it attractive enough for somebody to change their ways?
One thing about what we are engaged in and what we are doing is not just about giving them more or less, but it's about restoring their dignity. It's about making them walk with their heads up. And for me, the most important thing about giving skills to these women is also letting them speak up, letting them share their own stories in their own words, in their own language. Because a lot of these women are actually abducted. A lot of children are carried away and they don't have a chance of education. But when you give them the skills training, mostly focusing on practical skills, they are sharing stories with one another. And they find themselves in a safe environment where they can trust and know so-and-so went through the same problem. And so giving that voice is very important, and we need to expose them. We need to bring them to a higher platform. I desire very much one day to have a panel of these women, these children here to speak and share their own stories. I took 4 women to Bukwo conference in Kampala. There were many women from different African countries. For the first time they were hearing these women speak in their own language. The whole house was brought down. Everybody was in tears to hear them sharing their stories with a lot of courage and living in dignity. They say, now we feel free. We are able to speak. And one girl who was very young, we got her from prostitution. She decided by telling other women, she said, I am so and so. And as you see me, I am 17 years old, but I am a mother like you. And I will tell you why I am a mother. People were shocked to hear the story of that girl. But that is the importance of giving them the skills, dignity, and then making them share their own stories in their own words.
Wow. One last question before we end. I talked about being gullible, being naive. What's the problem? How come we are caught unawares? How come people are always getting trapped? How do we not know that if a woman speaks like this, they're actually a trafficker? How do we not know those simple signs that this could be danger, this could be a red flag? Sister Naila.
Sometimes it's very difficult to just identify someone as, trafficked. They say, they show certain signs. And, sometimes, you meet people maybe at the airport, you see that someone is being controlled, but unless you actually know the profile of a person who could be a trafficked person, this is why education becomes very important. And we usually get information from the people who have been trafficked, who will tell us, this is what traffickers do to us, and that and that. So you can, then you are able to tell the public or to advise people as you migrate, for example, because one of the categories or one of the groups that are vulnerable to human trafficking are irregular migrants. People come in, they don't use the right borders, again because of the restrictions and policies in terms of movement. So people, tend to use the irregular pathways. So in that case, unless they know that if this and that happens, then I'm trafficked. But most of the time we are talking about cross-border trafficking. Ask anyone, particularly in Zambia, you say, what is trafficking? They say, yeah, I've heard about it. Well, it's people being taken to South Africa, being taken to Pakistan, or anywhere. They are associating human trafficking just with cross-border trafficking. But look, someone is taken from the village, promised education, kept now as a maid, working in a home and being exploited. Perhaps it's a child. If exploitation is widespread, who gets to know this is human trafficking? So this is how people are treated, and they just say, "Oh, this is a bad family treating this a person or or a child badly." So unless people know the characteristics, what constitutes human trafficking, so that we are able to see it for what it really is, then we will be able to identify and then rescue people that we need to rescue.
We have to go 30 seconds each, and I don't know if it's possible for someone to say something for 30 seconds. Sister Kayula, Sister Rosemary, Pauline, and Kevin, 30 seconds each.
Okay.
Your last words.
It's just my appeal to everyone here. You can save their life, but just by talking to the people that you come across with, family, friends, and everyone.
I hate the 30 seconds. One thing we all need to remember is that some of our cultures actually accepts and promotes human trafficking. I will never forget what I've seen in my own culture, that women can be carried by force to be married. So that's one of the things we need to fight against.
I honestly cannot do a 30 seconds, but this is what I would want us to do. Across the world, we are joining Women for Change in South Africa for a moment of silence for all the victims that we've lost to femicide. There is an increase of 35% of femicide in South Africa, and women in South Africa are saying they are safer in caskets than in their communities and in their homes. In Kenya only, from January to March 2025, we lost 120 women who were brutally murdered, and this is the reality. Femicide is happening. either through trafficking, either through sexual abuse within our own community. So as Mr. Kevin is finishing, I will request us to do a moment of silence, because these women cannot speak for themselves. But now that we're here and we're doing this work, it is our responsibility to hold this moment of silence to them. As we have shown love, as the sisters have shown love, as you have empowered some of us who are survivors to speak and to be able to stand and raise our voices, let us not stop doing this work. Your work is empowering. That drop in the ocean is creating a difference across the world. And some of us are here today because of your love, your kindness, and your genuine support. Thank you so much.
I think what's important, we know our world is going through a very difficult time globally. But what the sisters bring is, as I said already, love and hope. And from a selfish point of view, when I meet with religious sisters, whether it's in Ireland or London or anywhere in the world, I go away feeling energized, realizing that the work I do is worthwhile. And even my children, when I went back from South Africa the last time I was there, and I told them the video of a religious sister playing the drums, they thought that was one of the most inspiring things. It went viral in their school as they showed this sister expressing love and joy. And so all I'd like to say to all of you here is thank you for what you do, and thank you for welcoming me to be part of your wider family.
Ladies and gentlemen, the panelists have been amazing. I think they deserve another big hand. Nothing as beautiful as that African sound. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll ask that, Pauline said something which has really touched me. I think we need to stand up and just observe a moment of silence for all our sisters, young people that have been abused, those that have suffered at the hands of slave drivers. And like Sister Rosemary mentioned, sometimes we don't even realize it could even just be in our own homes. We've taken a girl that you're supposed to take to school, and you've used her to clean and cook and do things for ourselves. Let's just observe a moment of silence for them. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for our fantastic panelists. Okay, am I also going to get a hug? Hug, I'm waiting for a hug. Thank you so much to our panelists. I think what they've brought to light is that these numbers that we're talking about, the 50 million victims, the hundreds and hundreds of young women getting raped and abused, those that are being cheated and shortchanged, these numbers